Good weather? Oh, check. Sense of self-worth? Check. Oh, wow. I don't know why I'm so grumpy all the time. Well, let's have a look through some new YouTube comments, shall we? Let's see.
Half of the things you're saying is wrong. You sound stupid, arrogant and ignorant. Learn something about the country, then make those videos. People like you do not make sense.
People like me don't make sense. Shit, I didn't know that. Still, it would take a lot more than that to ruin my day. You look like Johnny Depp. Yeah, oh, that's not bad. Wait a minute. You look like Johnny Depp fused with Frankie Muniz? Welcome to Ask Abroad, where for the next few weeks I'll be answering questions sent in by viewers about anything. It'll be just like a TV show, only not as good. Incredibly, last week alone viewers sent in over 1,000 questions. And so to try and bring a sense of order to the crazy amount of questions, it makes sense to theme each of these Q&A videos around a particular topic. The topic of this video will be about travel, and there'll be 15 questions, most of which will be about travel, with some random ones thrown in, as well as comment of the week and most annoying question of the week. Before we dive in, at the end of a previous video, I invited Sony to make contact if they were interested in hiring any new marketing directors or executives or anything like that. And surprisingly, there has actually been one promising lead, and it was a comment on a video. It says, "Yes, I am Nigerian Prince of Sony. Please give me your credit card information so we can hire you." Now, I didn't know Sony was ruled by a Nigerian prince. Come to think of it, I didn't even know Nigeria had a royal family. But I have sent my credit card information over, so now the ball is in your court, Sony. Okay, so John says, we're off to Japan from the UK in 3 weeks. What's one of the first must-do things when we hit Tokyo? There are 3 things you should do. Number 1, get a sense of how insanely big Tokyo is by going up Tokyo Tower. It makes even London look genuinely small, and the view from Tokyo Tower is probably the best in all of Tokyo in my opinion, as it's right immersed in the centre of Tokyo and you have a great 360 view. Number 2, go and relax in some onsen, some hot springs, in an actual onsen theme park in Odaiba. It's called Oedo Onsen, and to get there you need to take the monorail over the Rainbow Bridge, which admittedly sounds like something out of Mario Kart. But Oedo Onsen is a really great place to relax and experience Japanese bathing culture. I always take friends there and they love it, and it's a really great way to overcome jet lag as well. And number 3, and assuming it's the evening, go to Shinjuku, which is the entertainment district in Tokyo, and visit a neighbourhood called Golden Gai. It's a small neighbourhood crammed with hundreds of bars, tucked away down some narrow streets, and each bar is really small. It can only fit like a dozen people, and it has this really cool futuristic dystopian feel to it. It feels like Blade Runner. Although the last time I was there, I went into this rock bar, and in the corner there was this really disturbed interpretation of Yoda, which I am still having nightmares about. But it's a really great place to meet people, eat and drink at a reasonable price, and feel like you're in Blade Runner. Hopefully there's something there that should appeal. Have a great trip to Japan. What's been your favourite thing to do alone in Japan? Drive around the countryside listening to 80s music. But if you can do it, get a car and just drive off and get lost somewhere in the countryside. It's just the most amazing thing, and the scenery is incredible. And if you can have some 80s music as well, then you're on the right track. What cities or places do you recommend to visit in Japan in a 1 to 2 week schedule? If it's your first time in Japan, then I guess it's a given that there are set things you should see and do. And for that, the 3 places I recommend seeing are Tokyo, Kyoto and Hiroshima. And those are all 3 places you can see easily in 1 week. If you have 2 weeks, I'd actually recommend spending longer in each city rather than going off and travelling more, because you could spend weeks in any of those cities and still be discovering things. Use that extra time to immerse yourself more in those places. Have you had any experiences in Japan so far where you have felt intimidated on a level of fear of being harmed? Never, ever, not once in 3 years. The only place you might feel intimidated is in areas of Tokyo like Kabukicho or Roppongi, where you get people on the streets that try to lure you into bars, drug your drinks and then charge you 500 million yen for a beer. If you ever get approached by anyone offering you free drinks or special deals, just ignore them and walk on, no matter how persistent they can be. Other than that though, Japan is remarkably safe. I talked about this a bit more in a previous video, so if you have time, check that out, but otherwise no, never. Mr. Pig says, will you eat me? Yes, if you are roasted accordingly.
Would you fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
A horse-sized duck, one target, one baseball bat, job done. Lily Devins says,
if you made babies with a Japanese woman, what would you call it?
Joffrey.
Go fuck yourself.
Has anyone really been far even has decided to use even go want to do look more like? You have no idea how much frustration this question has caused me. I read this question when I was really tired and I couldn't work out if it made sense or not, or if I was going mad. And the subsequent time and resources that I have dedicated to try and unearth an answer to this question have been substantially disproportionate to the importance of the actual question. A question that isn't even there.
Go fuck yourself.
What would you say is the most memorable place you've been to in Japan? It's actually a bridge in Osaka and it's quite a famous spot. The bridge is called Ebisu Bridge and it's in the heart of Osaka in a place called Dotonbori, and the reason it's my most memorable place is whenever I go there, and I've been there about 4 or 5 times, I always meet many cool people, many strangers. Maybe I'm a bit biased as I did have quite a cool romantic kind of encounter there a few years ago, which I might write about. But if you get the chance, definitely visit Osaka, if not for the people or the atmosphere, certainly for the food, which is amazing. Osaka is known as the kitchen of Japan, and the food is fantastic. What are some of the best but underrated or off the beaten path places you've visited in Japan? There is one whole region in Japan that seems to be off the beaten path for most tourists, and it's a terrible shame as it's a beautiful place and it's got a very exciting, like, mystical feel to it still, and that is Tohoku, the northern region of Honshu. Having lived there for 3 years, I've been very blessed to explore and see a lot of it. But there's so much to see and do. There's lakes, gorges, cat islands, ski slopes, fox villages. If you ever do any extended travelling in Japan or have 5 days to spare, I would recommend hiring a car and just driving around it and seeing what you can find. I recently travelled around part of it with my friends Rachel and Jun and Charlotte, and there'll be a video of that trip coming out next month, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I really highly recommend Tohoku. Have you been to a cinema in Japan? What are some of the kinds of movies shown there? Cinemas in Japan show just awful films, where apparently having a good plot or likeable characters isn't important. Films like Terminator Genesis and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Terrible. Just terrible. But the most frustrating thing is they do often show films about 3 months after they've come out elsewhere, so bear that in mind if you are going to the cinema in Japan. Is Japanese transport as convenient and reliable as it claims to be? Yeah, Japan's public transport is so reliable. Everything runs with militant-like efficiency. In recent years, Japan's got some low-cost carriers such as Peach, which are really good for flying around the country at a low price. And buses as well are another way. Willer Express is quite a good one and they're easy to get around with. If you're in a major city and you're going to be travelling a lot by train, which you probably are, I would recommend getting one of these. This is a Suica card and you just tap it on top of the machines when you pass through train stations, and it's a lot easier than playing around with tickets all day. You can usually get them at any station by using the machine, and they have it in English as well, so it's quite foreigner friendly. Japan is very, very good when it comes to public transport, and its reputation is well earned. What's your favourite place in Japan? I guess there are 2 places. Number 1, Osaka in general, as I've already explained. And number 2, there's a spot on a mountain overlooking the volcano Mount Chokai, which is the tallest volcano in Tohoku. And I often just go there and sit and relax, because on one side I have the Sea of Japan and on the other I have this amazing volcano and all these mountains and stuff. And if you are wondering what it looks like, it's the opening to one of the weight loss videos. So I can go there when I'm stressed and just forget about everything and just stare at this amazing 2,200 metre volcano.
For some reason I find you insincere.
Didn't even give a reason. In your opinion, what would be the top 3 places to visit in Japan? Number 1 would be Tohoku region in general, just due to its beautiful scenery, good food, and you can just get lost in it and have this real sense of discovery. And there's lots of hot springs as well. Number 2, Osaka, just because it's the most funnest, brilliantest, bestest city in Japan. The atmosphere, the people, the food, it's all the best parts of Japan rolled into one. That's number 2. And number 3, the inland sea of Japan between Shikoku and Honshu. And the best way to see it is by bicycle. No, I'm not crazy. There's actually a chain of islands that you can cycle across. There's a 100-kilometre cycle route that goes across a chain of islands in the inland sea. It goes from Onomichi in Honshu to Imabara in Shikoku. You can do it in one day and you can rent bikes for about 1,000 yen. So it's very convenient as well. And I did it in August with a friend and it was just really beautiful scenery, all the rice fields, mountains, fishing ports you go through. It's called the Shimanami Kaido and I've put the details in the description box below, but 10 out of 10 do it. It is amazing and a lot more fun and rewarding than climbing Mount Fuji in my opinion. Even if I did get mild sunstroke by choosing to wear a bandana instead of a hat on a day when it was 36 degrees. Learn from my stupid mistakes. But those are the 3 places I recommend seeing overall. In Japan right now and here until the last day of September, got any tips for things to do in Tokyo? Oh, by the way, a few months ago I asked you where I could do the Wanko Soba Challenge. You politely replied that it was in Morioka, so I took a day trip there. Many thanks for that. 75 bowls. First off, well done on those 75 bowls of noodles. I'm not bitter about being beaten again. So get up at 6 AM and then just walk around Tokyo for the next 12 hours. Try and do it with a clear mind. Like, try and notice everything around you as much as you can, almost in a meditative state. And every hour try and take 5 really good pictures. By the end of the day you'll have seen an insane amount of Tokyo and you'll have 60 pictures to help you recall the journey. And then profit from the whole thing by writing an article about your journey, using all the pictures, and give it a bold, slightly pretentious name, something like A Moment of Tokyo. No, Tokyo Moment. Yes. Good luck, Benjamin. I believe in you. And finally, Joao says, how come in some videos, in the same video, there's parts where you're shaved and not shaved? Is there 2 of you? I have no idea what you're on about, mate. Continuity is of the utmost importance to the Abroad in Japan channel. And on a final note, come to Japan now while the yen is utterly worthless. Your money will go a lot further. I hope you've learned something useful from this video, and don't forget to hit the like button, because it's the only way I know you actually like this stuff. As for the next Ask Abroad video, the topic will be everyday life in Japan, and I'll be looking at questions that have been sent in, as well as questions below this